They told me I couldn't be Nick Fury because I'm white. I told them to read the comics. And there's even a movie about the white guy. Oh yeah. I'm a big fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I recently watched a YouTube video on the history of the Marvel character Nick Fury. For those of you who've only watched the modern S.H.I.E.L.D movies, Nick Fury didn't always look like Samuel Jackson. In fact, he was originally a tough, cigar-smoking, white dude. One of the more recent comics apparently had a storyline where the original Nick Fury adopted a son, so the Samuel Jackson character we know and love in the movies is actually Nick Fury Jr. I, for one, think that they definitely need to work this plotline into the MCU somehow, but I digress. In the video, the commentator mentioned that an old Marvel TV movie with the white Nick Fury was available to watch on YouTube, so I had to check it out. Villains from Hydra steal the frozen body of some unimportant villain, which contains the only remaining remnants of a supervirus which could wipe out mankind. S.H.I.E.L.D. calls Agent Nick Fury out of semi-retirement to help them deal with the crisis, and what follows is basically your typical 80s action movie. There are a total of 10 H words in this film, 6 D words, and 1 male B word. Nick has, and is occasionally seen smoking, a large cigar. I didn't know a lot about the film going in, including when it came out. But from everything I saw, I guessed that the movie was made in the late 80s and couldn't be newer than 1992 at the very latest. I was surprised to learn that it actually came out in 1998, because there really wasn't anything in the movie that looked very 90s to me, but whatever. The one thing I did find interesting was that there was a reference to Ebola. Okay, now I realize the Ebola virus has been around for a long time, but I personally hadn't even heard of it until this past year, and if it was ever something talked about in mainstream society before, it must have been before my time. But it just, yeah, gave it kind of a modern feel. A weird modern footnote in the 80s movie, yeah. As far as the movie itself goes, though, it was actually pretty good. The first 5 minutes involved a lot of shooting and running around, and while there were indications that Hydra was breaking in somewhere, you really had no idea what was happening. But then Nick Fury showed up, and stuff was explained, and it was good. My main objection was that the female villain was just a little bit too over the top, and it felt like she was acting. Secondly, this felt like a sequel, with Fury being brought out of retirement, the frozen villain he had defeated at an earlier time, and the fact that the main villains of the movie were that villain's children. No doubt this all ties into things that took place in the comic books, but as someone who hasn't read very many of the comic books, I kind of felt a little left out. Overall, it was certainly not even close to being on par with any of the MCU movies, but it was still a fun movie. I definitely enjoyed it, and I definitely plan on watching it again. Well, that about does it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed. Please like, please subscribe, and don't forget to watch Outside the Box. So I'll be Nick Fury if I want to be Nick Fury.